a world, a coordinating unit of humans should be run, in my opinion. And in the United States right now, we've got a situation where we have a level of, our system isn't robust, isn't as robust as we thought it was, because I think the Constitution itself has, it's a little bit wobbly, and like I said, because the preamble was mainly like, here's our goal, and it was basically, here's how you're structured. But the Constitution didn't really anticipate, even though I know the founding fathers talked about it, was they really didn't anticipate that somebody would come in from the inside and try to derail the protections, which is what's happening now. We are derailing the protections for people in America right now under the Trump administration in many ways. And we have a Supreme Court that has been willing to throw out the precedents that we've used for years and years and years and just create new law. And it's been very unsettling to see this shift. And so what I have proposed in my book is that we create a new branch. We have an extra fourth branch that we add to the world, and we call it the evaluation branch. And this is the branch that says,
I'm sorry,
all of the
which one are the other three?
Well, there's three now. There's the executive, which is the president and the administration, the legislative, which is Congress, the House and the Senate, and then there's the judicial, which is all the judges plus the Supreme Court.
All right.
And so what I'm suggesting is that right now, that we need an evaluation branch, which is a branch that's a little bit it's made up of people and acts like, sort of like a jury for the coordinating function. So our legislators and our judicial branch and our executive branch have to be reviewed for their work according to the Constitution's rules, which in this case is do no harm, allow choice. So that when, like, let's say the legislature makes a law and says gay marriage is illegal, this evaluation branch can come back and say, wait, that doesn't harm anybody else, so that their only rule is to evaluate these actions to make sure that they are following the Constitution. The problem we have today is we don't have a really good way of enforcing people to follow the Constitution. And the only way, like, a president can get impeached, but it hardly, he hardly ever gets convicted, and he'll continue to break the law, or, and people will say, oh, he's the president, it's okay, and it's like, no, it's not okay. You are harming people. And so I realize this is a very high level, it's a theory, but this is, I think, the way we need to go to put a few more, we need to be able to put a little more robustness into our ability to have a constitution that really does protect the people.
Interesting. So this fourth branch would kind of work as sort of police for the government? Is that a good...
Kind of like it's more like I would look at it more like, how you have a board that oversees the management of a company, but it would be made of people. But it's like, no, here's your goal. The problem with the board, of course, is that they just reinforce what the management is doing because they're all trying to maximize profit, which I have a problem with too. But in this case, the goal, it's sort of like a board, but of people, but they're looking at only this one thing. You guys have to do what is constitutionally correct. It's like a constant feedback loop for the constitutionality of an action. So it's, there needs obviously a lot of work, and it's hard to make a fourth branch of government. Oh my gosh, you need 3/4 of both houses of Congress and 3/4 of all the state legislatures to agree with you. So that would be a big lift, but something has to be done to reinforce our system so that we can ensure that we create laws that are fair and that we enforce them fairly.
That's such an interesting idea. But would you, wouldn't you, let me rephrase. Wouldn't you think that this fourth branch would make everything a little bit more bureaucratic and would actually make the changes of laws and changing on the constitution even harder to happen?
Perhaps, again, the goal is a simple one. I mean, if you look at nature, nature is very, very simple. It does one thing. It says, I'm going to do these things to survive. And it says, you guys report up this information, and then we'll evaluate it and get this back to you. And
Yeah.
so I think it's more like, it could make it more bureaucratic, but what it would really do is we're in a world where information is cheap. We can make reports that say, okay, we can make system IT information reports that says, okay, these are the things that weren't weren't following the sort of prime directive, and these were. So let's just focus on the ones that weren't, or let's focus on the main ones that impact the most people. So yes, every time you create a new system, you create more bureaucracy. But if but all of this nature, all of the things that we do in a government should be compared to this one directive. There's not a million directives. There's one directive. Don't harm and maximize choice. And that makes choices simpler and easier to understand. Now, how you implement them can be very creative, and you can do lots of different things. And that's where the art of your experts comes in, where they say, well, we could try this, and we could try this, and we could do this, and we could do this. But what you're really trying to do is always keep things streamlined to maximize choice, minimize harm. And if you do that, I think we will have better societies. And I would think that over time, if we all are educated in this way, we'd get the sense of it and kind of live that way a little more easily.
Wow, that's a wonderful directive. So maximize choice and reduce
Harm,
harm.
harm. Yeah.
Sounds ideal. Right? I have nothing against
Well,
that. I don't think anyone would have anything against that.
that's my view, is that I think if you asked anybody, they'd say, yeah, that's a good deal. I
Yeah.
get to do as much as I want, but I can't harm anybody else, and they don't get to harm me. Deal. I'll do that. I think that would be, and you know what? That's how nature does it. That's the whole point. This didn't come to me out of the blue. This came to me from nature. This is exactly how the cells work. All the cells, the coordinating mechanism, the cells, they like, hey, you guys get to just pump that blood, do your thing all day long. We're not going to bug you, but you can't mess with the other cells. And they don't. They all coexist, and you live happily ever after,
And
right?
I have no choice but to ask you because that sounds actually the opposite that the government is operating at the moment with the whole Dodge thing, where they're just cutting
Right.
branches very abruptly. And
Hmm.
I need to ask, what's your view on this?
Well, my problem with it is that they're saying they're treating